They betray their future not with one great failure but with 1,000 small surrenders. A scroll instead of a book. A late morning instead of discipline. A fleeting pleasure instead of the relentless pursuit of strength. Every choice whispers into eternity, shaping the man you will or will not become. And the truth is merciless. The weak excuses you feed yourself today will harden into the regrets that chain you tomorrow. But discipline is the great redeemer. It is the line that separates the man who governs his life from the man who drifts like dust in the wind. When you command yourself, you cease to live as prey to circumstance. You become the architect of power. You transform silence into clarity, pain into fuel, and consistency into an empire. So hear me now. Every time you resist temptation, every time you rise while others sleep, every time you hold the line when it burns, you forge steel into your spirit. You are not betraying your future. You are honoring it. You are building a man who cannot be broken. If you feel this truth, write it below. I refuse to bow to weakness. Number 1. The weight of discipline. You must understand this. Discipline is not a cage. It is the key. It is not punishment. It is the highest form of freedom. A man without discipline drifts, tossed by every wave, owned by every impulse. But a man who has mastered discipline, he commands himself, and through himself he commands the world around him. Discipline is the edge that carves destiny from raw chaos. It is not about doing what feels good. It is about doing what is required. When you choose discipline, you are saying to the future, I am worthy of power. When you reject it, you say, I surrender. And remember this, the world never rewards surrender. Consider how much power is lost in moments of weakness. A single hour wasted compounds into years of mediocrity. But a single disciplined choice, 1 hour of focused work, one step into discomfort, one repetition carried through pain, can compound into greatness that no man can deny. That is the mathematics of discipline. Small, deliberate acts multiplied across time forge an empire of strength. When others are distracted, discipline keeps you locked onto the target. When others fall to excuses, discipline commands you forward. And when others fade into obscurity, discipline makes you untouchable. This is not about being harsh to yourself for no reason. This is about weaponizing your willpower, sharpening it until it cuts through hesitation like steel. Ask yourself this, if you cannot command your own body to rise at dawn, how will you command respect from men? If you cannot control your own hunger for comfort, how will you control the battlefield of your life? Discipline is not a small thing. It is the foundation of everything. Without it, talent rots. Without it, ambition withers. Without it, power is only a dream. But with it, everything bends to your will. The beauty of discipline is that it grows stronger with use. Every time you deny weakness, you thicken your armor. Every time you complete the work you promised yourself, you sharpen your blade. It is not about perfection. It is about consistency. The repetition of strong choices carves a man into something others cannot shake. And do not think this path is joyless. There is a satisfaction so sharp it cuts deeper than pleasure. It is the satisfaction of knowing you are in control, that you are moving forward while others drift backward, that your future is not left to chance. It is being engineered by your relentless discipline. This is the truth. A man who controls himself is free. A man who masters discipline cannot be broken, cannot be swayed, cannot be touched. He stands in silence, but his presence carries force. He speaks little, but his word bends reality. Because discipline builds not just strength of action but strength of being. If you feel this in your core, claim it now. Write it below as a vow to yourself. My will is my fortress. Number 2. The cold law of self-mastery. Power begins and ends with one battlefield, the self. Conquer that and no obstacle outside of you can stand for long. Fail there and nothing you attempt will hold. It is the cold law of reality. Control yourself or be controlled by everything else. The man who rules his emotions, his habits, his desires, and his time becomes untouchable. Why? Because most men cannot. They bend at the first sign of pressure. They fold when comfort calls. They live reactive lives, always adjusting to circumstances, never dictating them. But you are called to a higher order, to a life where every action is calculated, every choice sharpened with intent, every step aligned with a vision too powerful to be broken. Self-mastery is not about denying pleasure forever. It is about owning it, about deciding when you indulge, not being dragged into indulgence by weakness. The disciplined man does not live without reward. He chooses his reward. He bends life into a shape that serves him instead of being bent by it. This is the Machiavellian truth. Control is power, and the first throne you must seize is the throne within. Understand this clearly. Discipline is the weapon, but self-mastery is the war. When your mind screams stop and your body burns and yet you keep moving, you are not just training muscles. You are training sovereignty. You are writing into your nervous system a simple, unshakable fact. I command myself. Most will never know this feeling. They live enslaved by their cravings, their emotions, their distractions. They speak of freedom, but their lives are chains. They speak of power, but their actions are weakness. They speak of dreams, but their habits destroy them. Self-mastery separates the talkers from the rulers. Think of it like this. Every time you say no to distraction, you sharpen the blade. Every time you focus when others scatter, you harden the armor. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build a fortress no man can storm. That fortress is discipline. That blade is will. That power is self-mastery. And here is the truth no one wants to face. Self-mastery requires suffering. Not suffering in vain, but chosen suffering. You must walk willingly into the fire. You must endure repetition until it carves grooves of steel into your spirit. You must carry weight long after comfort begs you to set it down. Because the man who cannot suffer cannot rule. The man who cannot suffer cannot endure. And the man who cannot endure is destined to be ruled. But the beauty of this path is that suffering transforms. Pain becomes power. Struggle becomes pride. Every scar becomes a signature, a mark of proof that you have walked where others turned back. And this transformation builds a presence that cannot be faked. People see it. They feel it. They know without words that you are different, that you are not at the mercy of life, but the master of it. And mastery is not about arrogance. It is about certainty. When you command yourself, you don't need to boast. You don't need to prove. You don't need to beg. Your presence does the work for you. And presence is the currency of power. So ask yourself this. Are you willing to claim that throne within? Are you willing to command the storm of your own mind, to forge silence out of noise, to bend chaos into order? If you are, then say it aloud and write it below. I command myself. Nothing else. Number 3. The architecture of power. Power is not stumbled upon. It is not gifted. It is constructed brick by brick, habit by habit, choice by choice. The world does not hand crowns to dreamers. It hands crowns to architects. And discipline is the blueprint. Without it, every dream collapses under its own weight. With it, even the impossible bends to your design. Think carefully. Every man has the same hours in a day. But why do some rise to power while others fade into shadows? It is not chance. It is not luck. It is architecture. The powerful man builds systems around himself. Systems that chain him to progress, not to failure. Systems that eliminate weakness before it strikes. Systems that make his discipline automatic, his growth inevitable. This is where cold realism enters. You cannot rely on motivation. Motivation is fleeting, soft, a guest that visits only when the weather is pleasant. Discipline is different. Discipline is the iron law. It moves whether you feel like it or not. It does not wait for your emotions to cooperate. And when you build your life around discipline, you create a structure that stands long after emotion has crumbled. Imagine this structure like a fortress. At its foundation lies routine, strong, immovable, repeated until it becomes law. Above it are walls of consistency. Each act of discipline layered on top of the last. Inside are chambers of growth carved by daily action and ruthless focus. And around it, a moat of standards, rules you do not bend, boundaries you do not cross, principles you refuse to betray. This fortress cannot be shaken by failure, because failure becomes a lesson stored within the walls. It cannot be rattled by temptation because your moat of standards blocks it at the gates. It cannot be conquered by time because time is the material that strengthens it. Most men live in tents, flapping in the wind, collapsing in the rain. But the disciplined man, he builds a fortress so cold and solid that storms break against it in vain. And this architecture extends beyond habits. It invades thought. Machiavelli himself knew that a ruler must plan beyond the moment, beyond the season. He must think in decades. So must you. Every decision you make today must echo into the next 10 years. Ask yourself, does this action strengthen my fortress or does it weaken it? Does it sharpen my blade or dull it? Does it serve the architecture of my power or sabotage it? These are the questions that discipline answers with clarity. This is not about controlling others. This is about controlling yourself so completely that the world has no choice but to respond. When people see a man bound by his own structure, they instinctively trust his strength. They sense his stability. They lean toward his certainty because they lack their own. This is influenced not by manipulation but by demonstration. Cold, undeniable presence born from self-governance. Now consider this. If your life is a fortress, your habits are the stones. Do you lay them carelessly, uneven, cracked, ready to crumble? Or do you lay them with precision, each one locked in place, each one supporting the weight of the future? Every morning you rise with discipline, you place a stone. Every hour of focus, every repetition completed, every promise kept, you place another stone. Over years you will look up and realize you have built something monumental, something no man can take from you. And this fortress of discipline does more than protect you. It projects power. It radiates a force that others cannot explain but cannot ignore. A disciplined man walks into a room and shifts the air. Not by arrogance but by presence. People feel the weight of his order, the steadiness of his being, the sharpness of his intent. He does not need to declare authority. It is carved into him by years of self-command. Understand this deeply. True power is not loud. It does not need to shout. It is quiet, cold, deliberate. It is the presence of a man who knows he cannot be moved because he has built himself into something immovable. This is what you are called to build. Not a fragile dream, not a fleeting spark, but an architecture of power so unbreakable that the world bends to it. And now I put the question to you. Are you building your fortress or are you still living in a tent? If you are ready to construct your empire, write it below. I build what cannot be broken. Number 4, the fire of relentless will. There comes a moment when discipline evolves into something greater, something deeper than habits, stronger than systems. It becomes will. Not the fragile will that cracks when pressure rises, but relentless will. The kind of inner fire that does not die no matter the storm. This is the level where men stop chasing power and begin radiating it. Where the world stops questioning your strength and begins yielding to it. Understand this. Relentless will is not natural. It is not born. It is built. It is carved through endless resistance. Through the repetition of choices that defy comfort. Every time you hold the line when it hurts. Every time you press forward when quitting would be easier. Every time you demand excellence from yourself when no one is watching, you are forging will. Most men cannot grasp this truth because they believe will is something you either have or you don't. But in reality, will is created by fire and fire requires friction. You must welcome resistance, welcome fatigue, welcome struggle. Because every strike against you sharpens you. Weak men seek ease, but ease is the enemy of will. Fire does not grow in comfort. It grows in the furnace. If you wish to wield relentless will, you must throw yourself into the furnace willingly. That is the price. That is the path. And here lies the Machiavellian edge. A man with relentless will is feared and respected because he cannot be manipulated. No bribe, no temptation, no distraction can sway him. His course is set and his will enforces it like iron law. Think about it. How can anyone control a man who cannot be seduced by weakness? How can anyone break a man who does not bow to fatigue, to failure, or to fear? That man is untouchable. That man commands not only himself but the respect of every room he walks into. Relentless will also transforms how you view pain. To the ordinary man, pain is a signal to stop. To the disciplined man, pain is proof of growth. Pain is the sound of weakness breaking. The more you face it, the more you rewire your mind to see struggle as fuel. Eventually, the very things that make others quit will make you stronger. This is the dark psychology of self-mastery. When obstacles appear, most shrink. You expand. When the world resists, you adapt. When comfort whispers, you remain unmoved. And yet, relentless will is not about living without joy. It is about earning joy so completely that it cannot be taken from you. Pleasure gained through weakness fades into regret. Pleasure earned through discipline hardens into pride. That pride is not boastful. It is quiet, steady, unshakable. It is the knowledge that you endured what others could not. And because of that, you have become what others cannot. But here is the dangerous truth. Relentless will requires constant feeding. You cannot build it once and expect it to last. Like a fire, it must be stoked daily. If you skip, if you falter, if you allow the flame to dim, it will weaken. That is why discipline and will are partners. Discipline is the act. Will is the fire behind the act. Together they build momentum that does not break. So build rituals that fuel this fire. Wake early when the world is silent and claim those hours as your own. Train your body until it obeys without hesitation. Discipline your mind until thoughts of quitting are drowned out by the roar of will. And protect your focus as if it were a crown because it is. The man who controls his focus controls his future. And the man who controls his will controls his destiny. Think of will as a blade. Every day you sharpen it, it cuts deeper into life. Every time you neglect it, it dulls until one day it is useless. Do not let that happen. Sharpen your will until it becomes a weapon others cannot match. When they falter, you endure. When they collapse, you rise. When they beg for ease, you embrace the fire. This is the law of relentless will. And do not mistake silence for weakness. The strongest men carry their will quietly. They do not shout about it. They do not need to. Their eyes reveal it. Their presence announces it. Their actions prove it. That is true power. Power that does not ask, does not beg, does not chase. Power that simply exists, undeniable and cold. So I ask you, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to throw yourself into the fire again and again until your will is no longer fragile but unstoppable? If you are, then write it below as your vow. My fire cannot be extinguished. Number 5. The discipline of time. Time is the only resource you cannot reclaim, and the man who masters it becomes untouchable. Wealth can be regained, strength can be rebuilt, even status can be restored. But once time is gone, it is gone forever. The tragedy is that most men treat their time as if it were infinite, as if each hour is cheap and disposable. They scatter it across distractions, feed it to meaningless noise, and then wonder why their lives feel hollow. Discipline begins with time, because without command of it, you command nothing. Understand this. Time is not just hours on a clock. It is the very measure of your life. Every wasted moment is a piece of your existence you have burned without purpose. And if you betray your time, you betray your future. A Machiavellian mind sees time not as something to pass but as a weapon. Each minute becomes an investment, a choice of what empire you are building. When you learn to govern time, you step into a rare territory few men ever reach. You become the architect not just of days but of destiny. Think of your day as a battlefield. Every hour is a soldier. If you waste your hours, you lose the war. But if you deploy them with precision, each one becomes a weapon advancing your cause. This is why structure is non-negotiable. You must set clear orders for your hours and then enforce them like a general with no tolerance for desertion. Let no hour slip away unaccounted for. Discipline is not only about doing hard things. It is about arranging your time so the hard things get done whether you feel like it or not. Consider the difference. The undisciplined man lets time happen to him. He wakes when chance allows, drifts through tasks with no priority, answers to every distraction, and then complains of having no time. The disciplined man dictates his hours. He rises with intent. He places his most important tasks at the front of the day before the world can intrude. He builds walls around his focus, refusing to let trivialities invade. He does not manage time. He commands it. And in commanding it, he commands his life. But this requires a cold honesty with yourself. How many hours do you waste in idle consumption? How many mornings are lost to laziness? How many days have you thrown away to comfort knowing you will never get them back? This is the cruel truth. The future you desire will not forgive this betrayal. It will punish you with mediocrity. The empire you dream of will not be built with excuses, only with hours invested with ruthless discipline. Time is also the great equalizer. The strong and the weak, the rich and the poor. All are given the same 24 hours. The only difference is how they are used. One man squanders his hours and fades into obscurity. Another bends them into a fortress of progress and rises into power. That difference is not fate. It is not privilege. It is discipline. And discipline with time is the highest form of self-respect. Now let us turn to the psychology of time. When you schedule your days with precision, you silence the chaos of indecision. Most men waste time not because they lack it, but because they drift in uncertainty. They ask, what should I do next? Discipline answers before the question even arises. Your hours are pre-assigned, your path already laid. This creates momentum that builds without friction. By structuring time, you eliminate hesitation, and hesitation is the killer of progress. This is why powerful men treat their calendars as sacred. They guard their mornings because mornings set the tone of war. They guard their evenings because evenings decide whether tomorrow begins with strength or weakness. And they do not let outsiders invade their schedule without purpose. Every request, every demand, every distraction is measured against the question, does this serve my fortress? Does this serve my empire? If not, it is cut out without regret. Cold, precise, final. And here is where the Stoic edge comes in. You will not always control what happens in your life, but you will always control how you invest your hours. Even in chaos, even in hardship, you can choose to bend time to your will. You can work while others despair. You can build while others collapse. You can turn pain into progress simply by choosing not to waste the time that pain has given you. That is the discipline of kings, the discipline of rulers. Think of time as a currency more valuable than gold. Each day you are handed a fortune, 24 hours. You decide whether to spend it on fleeting pleasures or to invest it in building a life that others cannot touch. Spend it carelessly and you will be poor in every sense. Invest it with discipline and you will become wealthy in power, in strength, in mastery. So I put the question to you. Are you letting your time slip through your fingers like sand, or are you seizing it with iron grip? Will you look back years from now with regret or with pride? If you are ready to command your time like a ruler commands his kingdom, write it below. My hours obey me. Number 6. The psychology of focus. Focus is the sharpest weapon a man can wield. It slices through distraction, cuts down wasted motion, and directs all your force toward a single target until it bends. Without focus, discipline scatters. With focus, discipline compounds into unstoppable power. The tragedy of most lives is not a lack of intelligence or talent. It is the inability to hold their mind on what matters. They are pulled left and right, consumed by noise, enslaved by every flicker of stimulation. But the man who owns his focus, he owns the battlefield. Think of your mind as a beam of light. Most men allow theirs to disperse into 1,000 weak rays, illuminating nothing. But the disciplined man condenses his light into a laser, burning through obstacles with precision. This is not a gift. It is a practice. It is trained through the ruthless elimination of distraction, through the repeated decision to guard your attention as if it were treasure. And make no mistake, attention is treasure. Whatever captures it shapes you. Whatever you focus on, you become. Ask yourself, what has your focus been feeding lately? Do you feed your strength, your craft, your vision, or do you feed your weakness, your vices, your impulses? The Machiavellian truth is this. Your focus is not neutral. It is always building something. If you waste it, you build fragility. If you discipline it, you build empire. Now understand the dark psychology of distraction. Every system in this world is designed to harvest your focus, to steal it, to fracture it, to own it. The undisciplined man falls prey to this trap, enslaving himself to the devices, platforms, and voices that scatter his attention into dust. He feels drained, anxious, unfocused because his mind is not his own. The disciplined man knows this, and so he wages war against distraction. He sets boundaries. He eliminates noise. He builds environments that protect his focus instead of assaulting it. Focus requires sacrifice. You cannot chase every path and hope to conquer any. You must choose. The power of saying no is greater than most men will ever realize. Every no sharpens your yes. Every distraction eliminated is energy reclaimed. This is not a life of deprivation. It is a life of clarity. A man who tries to do everything ends up doing nothing. A man who focuses on one thing bends it to his will. And here lies the stoic edge. Focus is not only about what you choose to pursue, but about what you refuse to let disturb your mind. Noise, gossip, trivial complaints. These are weapons of the weak. Do not let them penetrate your fortress. Let others be consumed by petty dramas. You stay cold. Stay locked on your mission. The world will try to provoke you to scatter your attention with anger or envy. A ruler does not bend to such tactics. He remains fixed on his vision, unmoved by the storms of lesser men. Focus is also a force multiplier. Discipline without focus is wasted energy, like swinging a blade in the dark. Discipline with focus is a strike straight to the heart of the target. That is why every morning must begin with clarity. Define your objectives before the day begins, or the day will consume you. Do not let the world dictate your direction. Dictate it yourself. Every hour must know its mission. Every task must serve the fortress. Every action must move the empire forward. But here is the danger. Focus demands patience. In a world addicted to speed, the ability to stay locked on one pursuit for years is rare and therefore powerful. Most men quit when the reward does not arrive quickly. They scatter their efforts chasing the illusion of variety. But the disciplined man commits. He understands that mastery requires time. He is willing to endure boredom, repetition, and delay, because he knows the man who stays locked in longest wins always. Think of the archer. The arrow only hits its mark because the archer waits, breathes, steadies, and releases at the perfect moment. Focus is the same. It is precision. It is patience. It is force directed with intention. 1,000 arrows shot blindly mean nothing. One arrow released with focus changes everything. The cold truth is this. Most men will never learn to focus. They will wander in circles, never building, never mastering, never commanding. But you must be different. Guard your mind as a king guards his throne. Defend it against thieves. Train it to lock onto the target and never release until you have struck. So I ask you now, are you scattering your fire or are you sharpening it into a blade? Will you drift or will you direct? If you are ready to forge focus into your weapon, write it below. My mind is my blade. Number 7, the fortress of unshakable mind. Strength of body can be broken, wealth can be stolen, status can be stripped. But the man who possesses an unshakable mind cannot be destroyed. This is the fortress above all fortresses. The citadel within your own skull. If you build it with precision, no storm can breach it. No betrayal can dismantle it. No enemy can truly conquer you. Most men are slaves to their thoughts. They are tossed from desire to fear, from doubt to distraction. Their minds are like fragile boats on violent waters, always swayed, never steady. But the disciplined man, the Machiavellian man, builds a fortress within. He decides which thoughts are allowed inside. He chooses which emotions are given power. He dictates what his mind serves. And in doing so he dictates his destiny. The mind is not naturally strong. It is like an untrained beast. Loud, chaotic, dangerous if left untamed. You must train it, command it, break it to your will. Every thought must be examined. Does this strengthen me or weaken me? If it weakens, cut it off without hesitation. If it strengthens, nurture it. That is how you build inner architecture that cannot be shaken. Consider how many men fall not because of external enemies but because of their own thoughts. They surrender to fear before the battle even begins. They give up not because the challenge was impossible but because their mind whispered, "You can't." The unshakable mind does not entertain such whispers. It replaces them with cold clarity. I can. I must. I will. This is where stoicism becomes the blade. You cannot control the world, but you can control your interpretation of it. You cannot prevent storms, but you can prevent yourself from drowning in panic. The unshakable mind responds to chaos with silence, to insult with indifference, to hardship with resolve. This is not weakness, it is power. The man who cannot be provoked controls the terms of every battle. But make no mistake, building this fortress is not easy. You must expose yourself to discomfort until it becomes ordinary. You must face fear until it loses its voice. You must strip away the illusions you cling to and stand naked before reality. That is how you forge steel inside your skull. Reality is harsh, but once you accept it without denial, you become stronger than those who still run from it. Here lies the Machiavellian advantage. When your mind is unshakable, others reveal themselves. Their weaknesses become obvious. Their emotional instability becomes transparent. While they react wildly, you remain composed. While they lose themselves in anger or envy, you stay locked on strategy. This gives you leverage not through manipulation of them but through mastery of yourself. A man who is calm in the storm appears powerful even if he says nothing. His silence carries more force than the noise of 10 undisciplined men. Think of this fortress as built on 4 pillars. Clarity, composure, conviction, and consistency. Clarity, the ability to see reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Composure, the refusal to be ruled by temporary emotions. Conviction, the inner fire that keeps you moving forward when nothing else will. Consistency, the daily reinforcement that keeps your walls strong day after day. If you reinforce these pillars, your fortress stands. If you neglect them, cracks appear. And when cracks appear, destruction follows. Here's the cold truth. Your mind is either your greatest ally or your most dangerous enemy. If you leave it untrained, it will betray you. But if you command it with iron discipline, it will serve you as a weapon no man can take. Train this weapon daily. When fear rises, confront it. When doubt whispers, drown it with action. When anger burns, channel it into focus. When weakness tempts, remind yourself of your vow. Over time, you will notice something extraordinary. Situations that once shook you now leave you unmoved. Words that once cut you now mean nothing. Losses that once broke you now fuel you. This is what it means to have an unshakable mind. And remember, this fortress is not built in silence alone. It is tested in fire. You will know its strength only when life strikes you hard, when betrayal arrives, when plans collapse, when fatigue claws at your bones. In those moments, most men crumble. But you will stand, you will endure, and you will emerge colder, sharper, stronger. That is the gift of the unshakable mind. So I ask you now, will you allow your mind to remain a fragile house of glass, shattered by the smallest stone? Or will you forge it into a fortress of iron, unshakable and eternal? If your answer is the latter, then carve it into the comments. My mind is my fortress. Number 8, the legacy of discipline. Every man leaves a legacy. Some leave nothing but dust and wasted time. A life forgotten as quickly as it ends. Others leave monuments, structures of power, examples of strength, echoes that last long after their flesh is gone. And the difference between the two is not fate, not fortune, not talent. The difference is discipline. Legacy is the shadow cast by your habits. What you do daily builds what the world remembers. Understand this. The disciplined man does not live only for the moment. He lives for eternity. His actions are not random. They are calculated investments into a future he will not betray. He knows every hour of discipline compounds into a structure so solid that it survives him. This is the Machiavellian law of legacy. You are always remembered for the standard you enforce, never the excuses you made. Think of history. The rulers, thinkers, warriors who carved their names into stone all shared one trait: relentless discipline. They endured when others surrendered. They pushed when others stalled. They sacrificed comfort so their vision could outlast them. Their lives were mortal, but their discipline made them immortal. You are not so different. Your name, your work, your presence, all of it will either fade into nothing or stand as a signal to those who come after. Which will it be? Legacy is not built in grand gestures. It is built in the small daily choices that stack into greatness. Waking when you said you would, finishing what you promised yourself, holding the line when weakness tempts. These acts seem invisible in the moment, but over time they create an architecture so imposing that no one can ignore it. This is why indiscipline is betrayal. It robs you not only of today but of the legacy you could have left tomorrow. But here's the cold truth. Legacy requires sacrifice. You cannot build something eternal while living like the average man. You must give up distractions, cast off comforts, and carry responsibilities heavier than most can bear. While others chase temporary pleasures, you chase permanence. While others seek applause now, you seek respect that will echo for centuries. This is the masculine stoicism of legacy. Choosing what lasts over what entertains. And make no mistake, this path is lonely. Few will understand it. Many will mock it. Most will abandon it. But that is the point. Discipline is not for the many. It is for the few who refuse to betray their potential. And the fewer who walk with you, the more powerful your presence becomes. Because when the masses fade into mediocrity, you will stand apart, cold, steady, untouchable. Now, let us speak of the psychology of legacy. Humans are wired to seek meaning. Without it, life feels empty, directionless, weak. Legacy is meaning weaponized. It transforms your struggle into something larger than yourself. It turns your suffering into testimony, your sacrifices into symbols, your life into a message that speaks even when you are gone. When you pursue legacy, you anchor yourself to a vision so powerful that no temporary hardship can break you. Pain becomes lighter because it serves a purpose. Discipline becomes easier because it builds something greater. But legacy is not only about how others remember you. It is also about how you remember yourself. When you look in the mirror years from now, will you see a man who betrayed his future or a man who built something eternal? Will you see excuses etched into your reflection or discipline carved into your bones? That self-judgment is the heaviest weight you will ever carry. Discipline ensures you can carry it with pride, not shame. The Machiavellian truth is that legacy is a form of power. It extends your influence beyond your lifespan. It shapes how people act, think, and build long after you are gone. And power that outlives you is the highest form of dominance. While others fade into dust, your discipline becomes immortal. That is the cold beauty of legacy. It is eternal reward for temporary sacrifice. But remember this, legacy is not just built by what you achieve, but by what you refuse to compromise. If your standards collapse, so does your legacy. If you betray your own code, your name rots with it. That is why unbreakable discipline is essential. It protects not just your progress but your memory. It ensures that when people speak of you, they speak of strength, not weakness. They speak of steel, not surrender. Every day you live, you are writing the script of your legacy. The question is, will it be a story of wasted hours and abandoned dreams or a story of relentless discipline and unshakable will? Will people remember you as someone who drifted through life or as someone who seized it with iron hands? The answer is in your daily actions. Here now in this moment. And here lies the stoic reminder. You may die at any moment. No man knows the hour. That is why you cannot afford to waste time. Legacy is not built someday. It is built today. Each day without discipline is a day erased from your monument. Each day with discipline is a brick placed into eternity. So I ask you now directly, what will they say of you when you are gone? Will they say you were a man of excuses or a man of discipline? Will they say you betrayed your future or that you built an empire within yourself that could not be shaken? The choice is yours, and it begins with what you do today in this hour with this breath. If you are ready to carve your legacy with iron hands, if you are ready to build something that cannot be erased, then write it below. My discipline is eternal. Number 9. Becoming untouchable. There is one state every man craves whether he admits it or not. To become untouchable. To walk through life immune to chaos. Immune to weakness. Immune to anything that would break the ordinary man. Untouchable is not about being perfect. It is about being unbreakable. It is about building yourself so completely that nothing external has the power to move you from your path. Becoming untouchable begins where all power begins with discipline. Discipline of body, discipline of mind, discipline of time, discipline of focus. Each one a chain forged together forming armor no blade can pierce. You will not reach this state by accident. You must build it deliberately, ruthlessly, daily. Every action must serve the fortress. Every choice must serve the empire. Every thought must sharpen the blade. Most men will never taste this state. They are too eager to bow to comfort, too quick to surrender to emotion, too weak to resist distraction. They drift like leaves in the wind, always moved, never moving. But you are not most men. If you hear these words and they strike something deep inside you, it is because you are called to more. You are called to rise above the noise and become untouchable. Untouchable does not mean you do not feel pain. It means you do not yield to it. Pain comes but you remain. Fear rises but you advance. Failure strikes but you endure. Untouchable is not the absence of struggle. It is the mastery of it. You welcome the storm because you know the storm sharpens you. You embrace the fire because you know the fire forges you. Where others break, you strengthen. Where others fall, you rise. That is untouchable. Understand the Machiavellian truth. The world respects strength, not words, not intentions. Strength is not a pose. It is not a performance. It is the quiet, undeniable presence of a man who cannot be moved. Untouchable men do not need to declare their power. They radiate it. People feel it when you enter the room. They sense it in your silence. They see it in your actions. And that presence bends the world in your direction. How do you become this man? You build layer by layer. Discipline is the foundation. Self-mastery is the structure. Relentless will is the fire within. Control of time is the strategy. Focus is the blade. And the unshakable mind is the fortress. Stack these together. Reinforce them daily. And you will become untouchable. This is not fantasy. It is cold realism. Any man can reach this state, but only if he pays the price. The price is discomfort. The price is sacrifice. The price is suffering endured willingly. But in paying it, you purchase freedom that cannot be stolen. A freedom greater than wealth, greater than status, greater than pleasure. Because wealth can vanish. Status can be stripped. Pleasure fades. But the man who is untouchable carries his power within him. And no man, no system, no circumstance can take it away. And here lies the dark psychology of untouchability. People cannot control what they cannot break. When they realize you cannot be manipulated by fear, cannot be swayed by temptation, cannot be stopped by failure, they yield, they respect, they follow. Power flows naturally toward the man who cannot be moved. You do not need to chase it. It seeks you. That is the final reward of discipline. Not only control of yourself but influence over the world. But let me be clear. Becoming untouchable is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of something greater. Because once you reach this state, life no longer feels like survival. It feels like domination. You no longer wonder if you will succeed. You know you will because you will not stop until you do. You no longer fear obstacles. You welcome them because they are fuel. You no longer question yourself. You command yourself. That certainty is what makes you dangerous. That certainty is what makes you powerful. That certainty is what makes you untouchable. So now I ask you directly, are you ready to claim this state? Are you ready to stop betraying your future and start building discipline so strong it cannot break? Are you ready to master your will, control your time, sharpen your focus, and forge a mind that nothing can shake? If so, then declare it. Write it below as your oath, I am untouchable. And if these words struck you, if they lit a fire in you, if they carved truth into your bones, then honor that fire. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel, Sig Rhythm. Turn on notifications so you never miss the steel that will sharpen you. This is not entertainment. This is training. This is war for your future. And if you are here, you are one of the few ready to rise. The world will try to tame you. Comfort will try to soften you. Weakness will try to claim you. But remember this. You do not bow. You do not break. You do not betray. You build. You endure. You rise. And when the dust clears, you will stand as one of the few. Cold, strong, disciplined, untouchable. You have heard the laws of discipline. You have walked through the architecture of power, the fire of relentless will, the fortress of the unshakable mind. Now the choice stands before you, sharp and cold. Will you betray your future again, or will you forge yourself into something untouchable? Every word you've heard was not entertainment. It was instruction, and instruction means nothing if it is not executed. Do not let this message pass through you like wind. Take it, hold it, carve it into your bones. Discipline is not something you think about. It is something you live. Understand this. From this day forward, every choice is a brick. You are either building your empire or tearing it down. There is no middle ground. Each hour is a soldier. You are either commanding them with precision or letting them desert. And when the war is done, when your years are spent, the only thing left standing will be the fortress you built or the ruins of what you abandoned. This is why discipline matters. Because discipline is the proof of respect for yourself, for your future, for the life you refuse to waste. Without it, you will drift into the same mediocrity that consumes the many. With it you rise into the rare air of the few. The ones who carve their own path, who write their own laws, who bend reality to their will. Do not think you will be motivated every day. You will not. Motivation is fragile. Discipline is eternal. Discipline does not ask how you feel. It demands you rise. It demands you move. It demands you honor the man you claim you want to become. Each morning you either obey weakness or you obey discipline. And whichever you obey becomes your life. So here is my final command. Choose. Choose to stop betraying your future. Choose to build unbreakable discipline. Choose to become untouchable. Because if you do, nothing, no failure, no setback, no betrayal can truly defeat you. You will always rise. You will always advance. You will always dominate. And now seal this with action. Write it below as your oath. So it burns into your mind, I am the architect of my future. Not fate, not chance. If this message carved truth into your spirit, then do not keep it to yourself. Strength is built in silence, but growth requires iron sharpening iron. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, Sig Rhythm, and turn on notifications because this is not the end. It is the beginning of your training. Every word ahead will be another weapon for your arsenal, another layer for your fortress, another strike against the weakness that wants to own you. The weak world will keep calling you back to comfort. But you now know the truth. Comfort is betrayal. Discipline is freedom. And the future belongs to those who build it with their own hands. So stand firm, stay cold, stay disciplined. And remember, power is not given, it is built, and you are the builder.